Hey everyone, I want to talk a little bit about the authentic you. Something that struck me recently that I want to pass along, which is usually where most of my ideas come from. It's just absorbing from the world around, podcasts, books, articles. There's so much out there and I love it. And this idea struck me that I was exposed to recently, and we're all trying to be authentic. In fact, there are, oddly enough, countless articles online about how to become more authentic you and what you can do to be more authentic. We're all trying to be ourselves in this, I guess, lipstick world that we live in that social media has created. And it's tough sometimes to be authentic because we have to be vulnerable to be authentic. We have to expose our weaknesses, and we have to expose the fact that we're not maybe quite progressing as quickly as we would like, or we're not quite as successful as we want to let on, or whatever. And it hurts us because people can see. We all have this spidey sense inside. I think it's built into the human DNA when someone isn't really being authentic. We can tell, right? Isn't it true? Can't you tell when someone isn't really truly being authentic? It's a tough one to cover up. If you are good at covering up authenticity and you can really truly not be yourself and pull the wool over other people's eyes, that is an amazing skill. I'm not saying you should do that, but that is a tough thing to do. Authenticity is very difficult to fake. So in this world where authenticity is increasingly important because we all want transparency. We all want, I think because the internet has made it so that we can really peek into a lot of times the personal lives of everyone around us. If you do a little research, you can dig your way into finding out all kinds of things about people. Whereas it wasn't always the case. But today you can, and that makes it so that we kind of come to expect authenticity. Certainly we value it as people. And as entrepreneurs with followings, there's nothing people like more than for their person they're following, their leader, whoever, their guru, to really be authentic. I know when I see people, I like to hear about their flaws. I like to hear about their imperfections and the things that they mess up on, because it helps me know, well, gosh, if they can be that successful and still be a little bit imperfect, it gives me hope that I can do the same. So authenticity is fantastic, but don't fake authenticity. You've got to be real about being real. And I'm going to give you one tip to help you do that. Part of what keeps us from being authentic are these layers of onion that cover us up, or this core inside, and a lot of times we're covered up, and we feel these comfort blankets that we pull over our heads because we don't want to face the ugly, mean, cold, cruel world that's out there sometimes. And so we put these facades out, and I think social media is one of the biggest culprits of this. And so as we're going through our lives, we like to put out there that we're maybe just a little more successful than we are, or that life's a little better than maybe it really is. And we have a tendency to judge other people based on their layers of icing, if you want to call it that, that they put over themselves. It happens, all of us do it. Well, I shouldn't say that, but a lot of us do. And so as we're following people on social media, we're exposed constantly to their wins when it may not be as great as you think or you like. And over the years, it's like barnacles on a ship. Don't you just gather friends that you get used to following, and they just kind of show up in your feed, and you don't really know why they're there, but you don't do anything about it. You just scroll on. You don't ever comment. You don't ever like. You just scroll past it. And all it's doing is bogging you down and keeping you from being your authentic self to the world, because it exposes you to their unauthenticness. Does that make sense? And it's exposing you to things that you just don't need. You don't need to be exposed to. And so what I would challenge you to do, this is just one quick tip if you haven't done this yet. I've done this a little bit over the years, off and on. And more so recently, the more I value my time, the more little things like this mean something to me. But take some time, as you do it as you go. As you're scrolling through your feeds, pause. Don't scroll past one that's just always been there and you don't know why it's there. Stop and ask, is this a person I really do want on my social media feed? Am I getting value from this person? Is this person authentic? And is this person helping me be who I am and helping me be a better person? You know, you become like those you hang around. It's a very true principle. And that includes social media. If you are constantly exposing yourself to people with small-minded thinking, you don't have to be sitting next to them to use the word hang around. They can show up on your social media feed and hang around you. And that's going to affect your thinking. So, my number one tip for today, clean up your social media feed. Okay? As you're going through, there's this handy little thing that a lot of us don't use. It's called unfollow. Nobody knows about it. If you unfollow somebody, they don't know that you're actually doing it. You're not unfriending, so they don't get a notice. You can still chat with them. You're still connected, but they don't show up on your feed anymore. And then follow things that truly matter. So tell yourself, it's better for me to be following 10 great people or companies or movements or groups or ideas than 1,000 that are just meaningless. That are, you know, it's like a cardboard diet, you might want to call it. So it's very important that you make it important who you follow. Okay? So be choosy. And if you meet a new friend and you want to make friends on Facebook, great. Give them a chance. Put them on your list. Let them be friends and show up on your feed a few times. And if what they're putting out there to you is not serving you, don't do nothing. Don't ignore that. Don't just be okay with it. Instead, simply unfollow. Just take a second, unfollow, and clean up your feed. And you'll be amazed at a difference that your feed will make. Because your feed puts out in front of you exactly what you tell it to put out in front of you. A lot of times, though, we put it out there. Yeah, I like this guy. I want to follow this group or this. And then as we go through life, things change. We just don't ever take the time to go back and change our feeds with the changing us. Does that make sense? And so you may be completely in alignment or completely out of alignment with your feed, and your feed may be doing you a disservice. Now, being that social media feeds are such an influencer to people these days, this is an extremely important thing to do and to be aware of. So keep on your toes about who you follow. Unfollow the ones that just aren't serving you well. You can always refollow later if you change your mind. Nobody knows about it, but take the time to do it. I like to do it as I go. So every once in a while, as I'm going through, I didn't say that right. So when I'm going through my feed, something shows up, and it's like, maybe it's an old friend from high school. Because when Facebook first came out, you friend everybody. Like, oh my gosh, I can, reconnect with all my friends, and this is great. And your friends from high school are posting just, worthless stuff that doesn't really mean anything. And you're like, I haven't talked to this guy in, 15 years. I have no idea I know who he was, but why am I spending time? Why am I allowing him and his posts to take up my time? Even if it's just a second of my day. I want every post to matter as I'm scrolling, and I think you should too. So there's a tip for the day. Value yourself. Your authenticity will come out. Peel back the layers and do that by cleaning up your social media feed. And even in just a matter of a couple of weeks, you'll be amazed at how different your social media feed is and how it can actually be an amazingly wonderful tool to help you grow and develop if you're constantly exposing yourself to people and groups and ideas and movements that are worthwhile. So there you go. Have a wonderful day. Share this with some friends you think need it, and unfollow the friends that you are not getting much value out of. Just make sure that it's not me. Just kidding.